So let's get real. Our value as doctors has significantly diminished over the last decade. So how can we turn that around by upskilling and creating rewarding and impactful careers on our own terms? Welcome to Disrupting Doctors' Careers. I'm your host, Dr. Abeyna Bubbers-Jones, and I'm on a mission to connect 1 million talented doctors with the best in diverse career opportunities.
Hello, I am back. So this is my first recording in the year 2024, and it is mid-February. That is for a really good reason, and the main reasons are, well, it started off with having a pretty shitty last 6 months of my life, I have to say. I mean, mainly due to life stuff, business stuff, a whole range of stuff. Nothing too unusual in the great scheme of things, but it was really emotionally challenging and draining. And I have to say, likely led to burnout. You know, hands up, I admit it. This is my second rodeo of burnout. I haven't done too badly. I think 2 episodes in 40 years, not bad. But here I am now. I am back on it. I just want to say, like, you know, having gone through that period, I have learned a lot. I have grown. I have resolved to do things differently because clearly strategies that I've used in the past, work-wise, life-wise, are no longer serving me. So I am doing what I can to change things up to make sure the strategies that I do use helps me and mitigates any further risk of burnout, at least for the foreseeable. So that's where I am right now. I also want to thank everyone so wholeheartedly, everyone on the mailing list, community, people I know, most of these people I know actually. Just like I've had loads of messages of really great support. So I just really want to thank you if you reached out. I apologize if I haven't gotten back to you, but that support, those messages, no matter how short or long they are, they really, really keep me going. You know, we are now celebrating 10 years of Medic Footprints. So that's 10 years of this passion project, I don't know what you call it, passion project, in really ensuring that doctors have a clear, supportive pathway to develop careers beyond traditional clinical roles. And it has been a long journey. It has been a challenging journey. It has been a hugely rewarding journey. And I can't believe it's been 10 years, to be frank. I am the kind of person that I like new and shiny things. I like to move on quickly. I get bored very easily. But 10 years down the line, I am still here and 100% committed. And that is really a testament to how I view how important it is for doctors to develop themselves beyond what they've already been handed, especially looking to the future. So if you've listened to this podcast at all, or at least the first bit, right? If you listened to it, if you've read any of the newsletters and emails that we've sent out over the last at least year or so, you may have heard me talk quite emphatically about the value of doctors and how that has been progressively declining over years. I mean, these things don't happen overnight. And it is being sped up right now. So this podcast is for you if you are looking to protect yourself as an asset. So you are your best asset, right? And if you've committed, if you've trained as a doctor, you've got a wealth of skills, you've got a wealth of value within you. Don't get me wrong, it's all great, but like a car, these are like a car, things can depreciate over time unless you do something to really maintain, improve, increase over time, right? You've got to make sure you keep it clean. You've got to send it for its MOT and service. Especially the more you drive it, the more it gets worn down. You've got to make sure the petrol or, the battery, if you've got an electric vehicle, is up to date, etc., etc. It's the same for you as an individual. As you get older, as you continue practicing, you have got to keep yourself tip top. And especially when it comes to being a doctor, you really have to step beyond this, especially if you're looking at alternative careers. So I'm going to cover 2 main points in this episode. 1, some of the reasons why doctors' value is depreciating over time. And 2, what you can do about that for yourself, whether you are purely clinical, purely non-clinical, hybrid, you name it. So keep listening. And before we go into those details, do not forget, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while and you're not on our mailing list yet, you are missing out. Moving forward, we will be focusing more on our community mailing list. Therefore, if you go to our website, you'll only be able to access a tiny, tiny, tiny proportion of all the opportunities that we have in store. So it's all about the insider information, right? And those come and go. And this is what we're going to be putting through our mailing list, plus tips every single Sunday. So if you feel this is for you, go to medicfootprints.org/join our mission. Okay, let's jump into reasons why our value is depreciating as doctors. There are plenty of reasons, but I'm going to pick some of my top 3. Number 1, we know that healthcare is a very difficult place to work in at the moment, regardless of where you are in the world. And we know that it's hugely, hugely stressful. So we're seeing an increase in numbers of doctors actively searching for alternative careers. I mean, there was a BMA poll done not that long ago that showed over 70% of doctors are actively doing that at the moment. So with more and more doctors looking for alternative careers, healthcare institutions have said, right, we're going to just bring in more people into medicine, more people into healthcare. We're going to keep recruiting more. We're going to keep recruiting overseas. And essentially, it ends up diluting the value of the people that are already in, the great people that are in, because they're making it more accessible to everyone. Not necessarily a bad thing, because it does solve that issue. But as you can see as well, within that, you have more and more allied healthcare professionals doing the jobs of doctors. Again, helpful because it helps doctors to focus on certain things, but it's gradually eroding into our roles as doctors. And this gradually ends up eroding into the bit that I'm really passionate about, the leadership opportunities. So when you start getting more and more professionals doing your job, pretty much, the question is, what is the job that can't be replaced, right? And I see that, especially over the last 2 decades, that has just increased over time. And then we have AI. So I'm not going to go into detail on the AI side of things, but realistically, for the day-to-day work of a doctor, that isn't the practical bit. So it's the knowledge bit, it's the analysis bit, it's the decision-making bit. Yes, it can be a friend. Yes, it can aid. Yes, it can speed up work. But remember, one of the things that we have had to do as doctors in order to pass oral exams is to remember a lot of stuff, right? Relying on our memory and recall and, accessing information. And now, these days, accessing information is super, super, super easy. What you do with that information is something different. And I feel that that is where our value still lies. But even that is being eroded because there is technology that can analyze and make decisions 1 billion times faster than we can as humans or as doctors. So, hey, I've already covered a number of points there. Just to summarize, there's an increasing number of doctors who are changing careers. 2, knowledge is easy to access, and this is where a lot of our value has generally been since the beginning of time. And we've also talked about increasing number of allied healthcare professionals doing the jobs of doctors and AI. And if you're someone who is a pure clinician, so working in a hospital, working in a GP surgery, you see that reflected in your pay. So in the UK, over the last year or so, we have seen a number of, I wouldn't say unprecedented because you could see it coming a mile away, but a number of doctor strikes, both junior and senior consultant level, over pay, being that pay has been eroded over time by inflation. So inflation has gone up, but that hasn't been reflected in doctors' salaries, which is a huge issue. But like many situations and strikes over time, it isn't just about pay. Pay is the tip of the iceberg. Beneath all of that, it is simply not feeling valued by the institution that you serve. And remember, as doctors, we don't take these things lightly, especially striking. So if we are going out there to strike, it is because it is something that is extremely important and hits the core of our values. So if you're thinking along these lines, you're like, well, what are you going to do about it? Right? What are you going to do to take action to protect your own value, not only as a doctor, but as an individual? At the end of the day, you have a career that can expand beyond the conventions of a doctor. You have a life. You may have a family, you have friends, you have ambitions, you have ideas. So how do you future-proof your career so you are not 100% reliant or feeling vulnerable on what happens with the value of doctors? If this is you, listen on, my friend. This is the core of what we teach in our Doctors in Industry Incubator / Fellowship. It's now a fellowship now. This is an educational learning program if you go to medicfootprints.org/industry. But this is what I am all about. So in the last 10 years, or most of the 10 years of Medic Footprints, it's been mainly about showing what the opportunities are. So inspirational stories from doctors, ideas, jobs, etc., which we will continue doing. However, the emphasis is going to change from the what to the how and the why. How are you going to improve your value as a doctor? And I've already covered why that is important, but you may have your own whys, and it's important that you clarify what those whys are. So anyway, let's get started. 3 top tips on improving your value. Number 1, articulate your unique selling points in the form of a clarity statement. So one of the things that I've lacked in the past, let alone I see lots of doctors lacking this, it's a trap that we fall into. We're good at so many different things. We want to do so many different things, but in doing so, we are not really known for one or even 2 things, and people don't really understand what we do or what we're looking to do, so they can't help us because they get confused and then they lose their focus. So if we're not focused, they're not focused. A clarity statement helps the person who's listening to it clearly and concisely understand what you do so they can determine whether you're for them or not, or whether they can refer you to someone who can help or not. Very, very, very simple. This is particularly relevant if you're searching for new opportunities, such as a job, and increasingly important because this is what hiring managers and recruiters are looking for, especially if they're sourcing you directly on LinkedIn or through your CV. They want to know in the first 2 seconds, are you for them or not? If it's not clear and someone else's is clear, they will go with that someone else. An example of a clarity statement could be, like, for example, with me, I help doctors develop rewarding careers beyond clinical so that they can change the world. Do you want to know more? I hope so, because that whole statement is created so that you would want to ask questions if you are genuinely interested. It's not supposed to tell you everything, but it's supposed to give you a little hook, right? That's just one example of a clarity statement. Another example, again, going back to me again as an occupational health physician, I transform the health of innovative leaders and their teams to help them grow healthy, sustainable businesses. Simple, right? I've articulated who I'm for and what the outcome is. Done. And so for both examples, I'm not for everybody. There are some companies who aren't innovative that would not be interested in what I'm doing, right? We're not for those companies. Medic Footprints has always been about doctors, right? We don't do general healthcare professionals. And, you know, if I had £1 for every time someone said, why don't you just do every healthcare professional? I would probably be a billionaire right now. Maybe it's a trick that I'm missing. Let me know. But, you know, the whole power of the brand is in the niche. And so that is for you on a personal level. It is exactly the same. If you're not really clear on what your unique selling points are, this could still be you in a clinical setting, by the way. It doesn't have to be non-clinical. I would really take some time for yourself, uninterrupted time, sit down and brainstorm. Think about what you're great at and the softer skills, not the technical skills, the softer skills that you are passionate about. And that could be as a doctor, but preferably not as a doctor, because those are the things that people actually can't take away from you, and also complements your doctor hat or your doctor brand extremely well. A big hint, one of the things that people are looking for even more so, and in the past has been undervalued, but that value is increasing, is the combination of people that have science background, so medical background, but also creative background. So that's arty, it could be entrepreneurial, it could be music. Think about it. Remember, as doctors, we are relatively dispensable, depending on the specialty you're in. But that is the case. Even though sometimes it might not feel like it. For example, if you're sick, you feel bad for taking the time off. But reality is things will get done in your absence. It will happen. So in order to improve your value, increase your value as a doctor, you need to explore ways of becoming increasingly indispensable, i.e. something or someone that the people that you're interested in, your audience or the people you're selling to, can't do without. The trick to this, well, it's not really a trick. Again, it goes back to communication skills here. It goes back to how well you can sell your unique selling points. So going back to point number 1. So once you're clear on point number 1, you need to make sure as many people know your value or how you value yourself as much as possible, right? And this is what doctors aren't always so great at, because selling feels like a dirty word, a bad thing. There's different types of selling, and the right kind of selling, which, you know, I like, which is consultative selling. It's something that we do anyway as doctors, right? You're in a consultation with a patient, you take a history, you understand their pain points, you do your investigations if relevant, and then you make a diagnosis and a prescription. That is what we call consultative selling. So it's a very relevant, targeted approach, and you're doing it to the right audience. So someone's come to you and they want your help. So it's exactly the same if you're applying for a job, if you're setting up a business. It's really important that you can market yourself, you can sell yourself. And in order to be able to do that, you need to understand your value in that market. So when people are clear on what your value is, so that may be that you've worked with them, that could be in your pricing, that could be in your salary level, it could be in the testimonials you get, the references you get, your value will continue to increase. And as I said, you're more indispensable if you have a very clear niche market where it's clear that you're not for everybody, but there is a group of people or a specific area where that you can really dominate that market quickly. So how to sell yourself is one of the fundamental masterclasses that we run in our Doctors in Industry Fellowship. And this is also available as a standalone. If you're interested in picking that up and you're not part of the fellowship, you can go to medicfootprints.org/how-to-sell. So medicfootprints.org/how-to-sell. The third point, especially if you are actually even in clinical, again, it doesn't matter whether you're clinical or non-clinical. The third point, which I think a lot of doctors tend to overlook, is you really need to have a basic understanding as a minimum of commercials. So that's everything from financial literacy to business, setting up a business, regardless or not whether you are setting up a business. If you're working in an institution or an organization, you need to have an understanding of business and healthcare economics, because that is relevant to your position as a doctor, as a leader, right? Especially if we're looking to get on boards, for example. And as we see an increasing number of doctors moving into industry roles, these industry companies, particularly in health tech, they're saying, well, hey, we don't struggle to find doctors anymore. That is not an issue. But what we do really need to see more of is doctors that can demonstrate they have a great commercial foundation. That doesn't mean they have to go and do an MBA, because we know that you're probably searching up an MBA right now. Those are expensive. And actually, a lot of companies are saying these days, actually, MBAs don't necessarily translate to finding the right kind of person. What we want is someone that has actually got the experience, whether it's they've worked for a company, whether they've volunteered in a commercial setting, whether they've set something up themselves that failed. We just want to know about that experience and what they've learned from it and the skills they've picked up from it. And that trumps qualifications. So hopefully this episode has given you a good grounding as to how to improve your value as a doctor. So as I mentioned, make sure you are clear on you. So your clarity statement. Make sure that you know how to market and sell yourself so that people know who you are and what you do. And 3, make sure you get hot on those commercials. You do not have to do an MBA to get hot on the commercials, by the way. But what you can do is join our community. And if this is the right time, which it should be, if you are in February or March 2024, is apply for our Doctors in Industry Fellowship. So this is designed for doctors who are ambitious. They are looking to grow beyond clinical to future-proof their career. Could be in the public sector, could be in the private sector. But most importantly, they recognize their value and really want to future-proof their career. And faster than everyone else. And beat the competition, of course. So if interested in finding out more about that, go to medicfootprints.org/industry. Thank you so much for listening to my first episode of 2024. I was a little bit nervous getting started, but hey, I'm just warming up. You will be hearing more of me on these standalone episodes. I'm investing more in doing my teaching through my podcasts, as well as getting on some really awesome guests like I have done in the past. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful day. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us at team@medicfootprints.org.